Okay, so welcome in. This will be our session for our Game of the Year. So it'll be my top 10 for 2023. They're all mostly pretty much new games that came out this year. I had to take out a few games such as Baldur's Gate 3, Diablo 4, and other games that like Starfield that would take up too much time. So I just had to allocate my time for games that I probably would like or end up liking. And yeah, I'm satisfied with what I've played this year. According to PlayStation Recap, they said that I played a total of 34 games. But before that, I did not play Avatar yet, so it'll be around 35 or 36, considering I did play DLCs of Final Fantasy 16 and also God of War, which I will not include here because those, except for Final Fantasy 16, but those, the other game, God of War, came out in 2022, which shouldn't be included in this list. In any case, we'll go down my list from top 10 and making our way down to number 1. So for number 10, it's definitely Hogwarts Legacy. I believe I gave this game about 8.5 out of 10 back in February. My expectations for this game were very low, and it captured me by surprise. They were able to create an interactive world which also captures life outside of Hogwarts. For any Potterhead, this was a treat for all to enjoy the magical atmosphere of the wizarding world. I don't consider myself a Potterhead. I do appreciate the movies and books to a certain extent. When I jumped to this game, I was immersed by what you could do and see. This game has its slow moments, especially at the beginning, but give it a few hours and the story kicks in. It's your typical Harry Potter storyline, but this is based several years before the books. From combat, sightseeing, characters, and the beautiful world. Two things that I wish they added to this game. One would be Quidditch, because I think Harry Potter is very well known for the Quidditch game. I believe in even the PS1 era, we had Quidditch. And then for the second one, they should have added an online feature one way or another. Maybe not like to a level of an MMORPG, but maybe like an avatar game wherein you can co-op with someone. Alright, let's go to number 9. Alan Wake 2. Now, to some, this might be their game of the year, and I understand why. But the other 8 games ahead of it is just better in my opinion. This game would probably be the best one in terms of horror, especially the jump scares. But the jump scares do get old as you play the game. At least, the eerie and horror aspect still stays. I must say, the boss fights with the flashlight and the game mechanic was impressive. I won't forget that first boss fight wherein your headphones will save your ass. I would have to say the graphics is a big factor to the experience as well. The lighting in this game was insanely good. It brings a lot of character to the story of Alan Wake 2. Another must-play game which I don't want to dive too much into because to avoid spoilers. But my gripe with this game would have to be the ending. It dragged too long and the amount of information lore was dumped in too much that it could have been spread out throughout the game even more. But in any case, this is a fun, freaky adventure, and I suggest you play it alone. Alright, for number 8. I did not expect this game to be on my list this year. It would have to be Super Mario RPG. It is a remake, remaster of the original back in the 90s. This game brought back my childhood not because it's Mario, but the JRPG aspect to it. Similar to another game on the list, Sea of Stars, which was heavily inspired by the original game of Mario and Chrono Trigger in the 90s. Super Mario RPG was heavily polished on the Switch, running at 60 frames with just a few frame drops here and there, but nothing game-breaking. The story is fairly decent, similar to typical Mario adventure, but with a bit of a twist. I won't get into spoilers, but honestly, the fun part are the mini games within the story. These help prolong the interest of the player by not just doing the same game mechanics for several hours. All the mini games are also somewhat different and challenging. This is the perfect Switch game to play on the go if you don't have a lot of time to set for video games in a day. Alright, for number 7. I am a big Star Wars fan, right? I wouldn't say like die hard, like I know every single thing about it. No, not at all. But I do appreciate the movies, the series, and also the video games. And when I found out Jedi Survivor was a sequel to Fallen Order, obviously I had to play it because Fallen Order was probably one of the best Star Wars games out there. Jedi Survivor, I wouldn't rank it over Fallen Order actually, right? Still a good game. I believe this game was 8.5 out of 10 in my rating. Going around the world here, obviously the maps are much bigger than Fallen Order here. Combat is much better as well. But with the story of Fallen Order, because it does relate to Order 66, which is when the Jedis were tortured and killed in episode 3, I believe. But yeah, the combat here was really good. The story wise, it was hard to, how do I say this? It was not hard to keep up, but it was just a lot of information going on. There's a lot of emotions in the story, but I wasn't a big fan of it. I wasn't really too attached to the characters here, even if some of the characters did die. Minor spoilers. The problem with this game, that's why I did not give it a perfect score. I do play games at launch, and with those launch games, this was a bad performance in game, if I should say. In terms of, they had a lot of frame drops in the game. My recordings here were day 1 also. So if you can see, even if it's just a 1080p recording, it was very smudgy. Like, I've had 1080p recordings or full HD recordings, and they look much better than this. It just felt smudgy and unfinished, if I should say. So the game was not very unpolished, but somewhat unpolished upon launch, and they did have a lot of patches going through that month of May, and then eventually, I believe by July, they had like a good 60 FPS patch ready to go. So maybe I'll give it a try and check out how good that patch is, but other than that, this game was, it was fun. It wasn't a waste of time at all. 8.5 out of 10 is pretty good. So for number 6 is what I thought would be the scariest game this year, but I did play Alan Wake 2 recently, and I still rank Alan Wake above that. But this game was also another remake, and was pretty good. So good that it had me at the edge of my seat. So I did not know what to expect with this game. I did not play the OG, nor did I know anything about it, like story-wise, what it's about, even combat. All I know, it was sci-fi horror. It did have the jump scare aspect to it as well. So I was always ready and wanted to play with headphones. This game was probably one of the best games to play with the immersion of headphones. Not sure if they won best sound design. I don't think they did. But they had really good moments in the game, right? Really good moments. Like, I remember a sequence in the game where, thank God I had headphones. I was trying to kill a certain alien, and then I hear a vent open up to my left, and all of a sudden it made me turn and wonder, wait a minute, there's something there. Then, as you can see with the flashlight here, it's very minimal in terms of the shadows and how the light can shine from far away. So the more you get closer to, like, let's say the corridor, or here we go. So like the wall right there. I guess your laser is the only one that can reach to the end of the hallway. But yeah, this game was really creepy. So going to that from the sound, hearing that sound and trying to check out what was that vent or something like that, and an alien pops out. Even if you know that something's there, the jump scares really just get you. And I believe this is like a sequence wherein you're trying to get your ship or trying to save someone, and then aliens just ambush you. They pop out. And I believe I die here. I think this sequence is when I just happened to open the door. And I was like, are they still there? Are they still there? And of course they're still there. And they just managed to make their way in. And I just die on the spot while talking. Even the NPCs don't care. Because that's not supposed to happen. You're not supposed to open the door. And it's a bloody mess. But yeah, I do recommend this game if you want a horror game that's, a breeze. It's about 12 hours, 15 hours. If it's on sale, get the game, because the game will really have you in your edge of the seat. Alright, for my number 5, I actually had to re-record this again. So, this game was actually an 8 out of 10 for me at the start, but I gave it time and I had to think about it. I was generous enough to give it a 9 out of 10. But I have to admit, I did have a lot of fun with the game. That's why I had to give that generous rating. This game sets the stage for a new generation of gaming. It pushes the PS5's power to the limit. I won't say too much since I've already reviewed this game in a different video. The combat really shines. That it's the most talked about aspect to this game, along with the epic boss fights, of course. My only gripe was it felt too long. The story could have been much shorter. Granted, you can skip all the side quests, but you want to get your money's worth when you buy a video game and finish as much as you can on first playthrough. From my 60-hour playthrough, it could have easily been 40 hours at max. Other than that, I'm glad I experienced this journey and dive into a new world of Final Fantasy. But yeah, so Sea of Stars. I heard about this game a lot. The marketing for the game was pretty good. It was a good thing as well that I had PS Plus or PlayStation Plus, that it was free for me. Although even if I didn't have PlayStation Plus, I would totally buy the game and check it out, because it was, one, an indie game, which makes it a cheaper game too. And this game brought out the 90s me, somewhat like that, because it brought out the classic JRPG style. Even if it's not considered a JRPG, it's more of like just an RPG, because I don't think the devs are Japanese. But it did give out that 90s style of RPG gaming. Even the, like, how it looks like, and the context of the story, the characters you meet, the way you traverse the world, and all of the story elements, it just gives out RPG here, RPG there. My only gripe with the game, I gave this actually a 9.5 out of 10, not a perfect one. I just wish that, well, it has something to do with the ending, because you don't know which is the real ending, because you do get an ending and you can get a better ending. So it's kind of like I Am Legend. If you watch that movie, there is a real ending to that movie, but if you have the DVD or like the Blu-ray of that movie, you know that movie has an alternate ending, which apparently they're gonna use for the sequel. So similar to this one. So that's my only gripe, which make my perfect score go down to 9.5. So it's pretty good. Like, I would play it again, actually. I'd totally buy this again for the Switch, because I have it already on the PS5. But I would buy this for the Switch, and yeah, it's something that I would be playing over and over again. Maybe probably get more achievements or more trophies to it. But yeah, this sequence is pretty great. Like, even the boss fights in this game were spectacular. Like, each boss fight, I do have a favorite boss fight, but I won't mention it on this review or this stream. But yeah, it makes you think before you actually do any action, because you do want to match the patterns of what you can do in the, it's hard to explain, but what you can do in the game. Like, you see those icons right there, you have to cancel them out in order to get the best, like, move, or I guess I would say stagger the enemy so they lose a turn. So it's a very turn-based kind of thing. And yeah, crazy good game. Crazy. Okay, so number 3 was my most anticipated game of 2023, because the original is in my top 5 of all time. I believe it's at number 3 or number 3. It's at number 3. Just behind Final Fantasy VII and Metal Gear Solid. This game, the OG game, is Resident Evil 4. So the remake, I would consider, since it's somewhat one-to-one, almost, it's close. Like, there are a few changes here and there, but I mean, the feeling and the story is somewhat, it's basically the same story. Everything, all the sequences, all the boss fights are the same. Resident Evil 4 was so good. It was so satisfying to play too. I believe this was my first game on Twitch, if I'm not mistaken, because I did migrate from Facebook and YouTube, and then just did full time on Twitch. And yeah, this is, I had a lot of good memories with this game. I was really excited to play it that I didn't even bother to stream. Like, even if people would come in, or if there's a quiet stream, I would just be really focused with the game, because it did bring childhood, right? Like, a lot of my childhood was with this game, because like my top 5 is basically childhood, aside from Bloodborne and Returnal. But yeah, so this game had a lot of memories, even if it was a remake. The sequences, I guess, the new things about this game would probably be the parry. A few of the level designs felt also longer too. If I'm not mistaken, it wasn't really one-to-one in terms of level design, but yeah, it was more fleshed out, if I should say. Really good game. And I believe it's probably, aside from Hogwarts Legacy, it's probably one of the fan base favorite games of this year, right? So yeah, I won't say too much about Resident Evil 4, only because I already gave my review during the finale playthrough. But yeah, this was easily a 10 out of 10 for me. Like, even if it was basically the same OG game, it still brought back my nostalgia, the nostalgic elements, and made it even better, right? And what I did not play was the DLC, which eventually one day I will. Just waiting for the right time. Maybe I'll just, when I get it on PC, I'll play that. But the moments here, like, I believe we are introduced to other guns or more guns. I can't really remember the OG too well, but yeah, the guns here are more fleshed out. I guess maybe the animations were not as good, or like the feeling of like reloading. I forgot which pistol that was or handgun that was, but yeah, it's crazy good game. Easily 10 out of 10, and I couldn't recommend it even more. Maybe it was 15 hours of gameplay, if I'm not mistaken, or 17, but it took quite a while. I think I finished it in a weekend, maybe. But yeah, that is number 3. All right, for number 2 is actually quite surprising, because a lot of people would probably think this would be my number one, but apparently it's not. So my number one, which we will reveal, well, which will be obvious after I reveal number two. So my number two is actually Spider-Man 2. So Spider-Man 2, this crazy superhero game that makes you feel like you're Spider-Man. Like, no joke, I felt like I was Spider-Man. It is indeed one of the best superhero games ever. Like, it is a sequel to Spider-Man 2018, but the way this game shines is because of the story. The story is pretty good. The flow was pretty good. The side quests or the side missions were, even interesting. Like, they weren't too long, and they were very engaging as well in terms of lore, because the way they put the side missions in this game was they are actually really quite part of the story compared to like 2018 one where it was just like side quests or like some thugs here and there, some of Fisk thugs. But in this game, you infiltrate like a base, do this, do that, get intel, and it actually adds to the story. There's actually a side mission in this game, with no spoilers, but it'll give you an idea of where they're gonna go with the game too. Like, who will be next, what the DLC might be. I'm actually quite interested if they're gonna announce anything soon, because this game has been around for, I think, 2 months, and usually on the 6-month mark we will hear more about it. I believe maybe Summer Games Fest will hear something of 2024. But yeah, I think they announced a new game plus already, so that should be out anytime soon. Because one great thing about the game is photo mode. The way Spider-Man shines in photo mode is crazy. I don't know if I have any footage for photo mode, but even at the daytime, this game looks great. The lighting was pretty awesome. I also did give it a 10 out of 10, right? They did add queens, which makes the 2018 map much bigger. So from the 2018 map, it's just Manhattan, and they added Queens here, which is where Spider-Man is from. Hopefully they add more, maybe Brooklyn towards the sequel, if they do have a sequel soon. But the only thing about this game that got quite old, which is not a big issue or problem, is I guess New York fatigue. When I mention New York fatigue, it's just like, you've been to New York, you've experienced this in 2018 here and there. Sure, you're Spider-Man, you're swinging around, but it does get old quick. The good thing about it is you can glide now, and you can traverse much quicker. There's also fast travel, but like, you're just wasting the game if you're just gonna fast travel, right? At least enjoy the swinging or enjoy the moments. Alright, for number one, I also had to re-record this again, so I'll just be showing some gameplay footage from my playthroughs. This is obviously Lies of P. Lies of P is the only video game this year that I finished multiple times. I'm on my 4th playthrough, and this game does not get old. It brings a lot of replayability. Yes, there are multiple endings, but that's not the reason for the replayability. The game has weapons for you to test out, mix and match in crafting, and abilities to also try out on certain opponents. The choices a player makes is endless, and that's the great part about this game. Aside from the amazing story that's easy to follow for a Souls game, the developers did a great job on making you immersed to this world. I'm also excited for the future of this franchise. One aspect that I would like to add that's great about this game is the mechanics and how it blends in with the world. The use of ergo some items, weapons, and even certain characters in the game. They all seem to connect really well, which makes it easy to follow with storytelling. If you're a big fan of Souls games, maybe even fairy tales such as like Pinocchio, Snow White, Beauty and the Beast, or any of those good fictional tales that you grew up with, I highly suggest you play this game. It may be hard at first, but the learning curve is great. Alright, that's it. That's my top 10 list for Game of the Year, with Lies of P getting the number 1 spot. I'll be posting more videos in 2024, leading up to Tekken 8 on January 26 and FF7 Rebirth on February 29. By the way, we are playing it a day early. I found a way to do it. Alright, I'll see you and Happy New Year!